walked away.
William has been very naughty.
The betrayal...
is from Prince William.
The betrayal was that Harry walked away. He was born to a life of privilege, but a life of duty as well. He did. And he walked away from it. He walked away. In the history of the world.
Educate me then.
The Queen took up the Commonwealth, which was a baby organisation,
and used it,
tried to turn it into a force for good all over the world. And you know what? She did a hell of a good job.
But look what she did in it.
Dendra Dava has somehow managed to become one of the least liked personalities on television today. Whether it's her constant attempts to stir the pot or her habit of pulling the race card at every opportunity, it's honestly hard to tell if even she buys half the things she says anymore. But today, something different happened. Nigel Farage, never one to tiptoe around controversy, absolutely shredded her tired old narrative. And he did it live, right in front of everyone.
He's got a good PR guy, hasn't he?
Well, so did the royal family. They all seem to have very good PR guys.
No, I think the royal family have had terrible PR over the years, but that's a different debate. I mean, the point is, Narinder Kaur, thank you for joining me. I know that you have been supportive of Harry and of Meghan.
Yes.
But to constantly go on international media to be abusive about your brother, his wife, your father, to do this again and again and again.
Well,
and to claim, hang on, and to claim that you have to do it in public because they won't listen in private. Let's face it, he's doing it for the money, isn't he?
Things kicked off with some small talk about which honestly felt like two people arguing about who had the better spin doctor. One minute it was about the royal family's disastrous press game. The next it was a backhanded compliment about Harry and Meghan's team being a bit too good at theirs. But then Nigel, in true bulldozer fashion, changed gears. He pointed out the not-so-small detail that airing dirty laundry about your own brother, father and pretty much the entire monarchy over and over again probably wasn't about seeking justice. It smelled a lot more like a paycheck situation because, let's be real, nothing says family healing like cashing in on exclusive interviews. Of course, Dendra wasn't having it. She jumped right in, arguing that, hey, bills have to be paid somehow, and if the media is making money off Harry and Meghan, why shouldn't Harry and Meghan make some back? It's a circle of life thing, except way messier.
What's wrong if they're doing it for the money? They've got bills to pay. There's nothing wrong with that. Media makes money from Harry and Meghan. Why shouldn't they make their money? They've got bills to... They're not sponging from the taxpayer. They're not
making money slagging your own family off.
Well, no, because
and slagging your country off.
Well, no, King Charles and Prince William are doing underhand. This is a story of betrayal.
Absolutely. He
Prince
walked away.
William has been very naughty.
The betrayal...
is from Prince William.
The betrayal was that Harry walked away. He was born to a life of privilege, but a life of duty as well. He walked away from it. He walked away.
Nigel wasn't buying any of it. He steered the conversation straight into the heart of the issue. Betrayal. Not just a little family squabble, a full-blown walk away from everything Harry was born into. Privilege, yes, but also duty. The kind of duty you can't just ghost, like a bad Tinder date. Dendra, meanwhile, came armed with her own defence. Allured to her, Harry's decision to leave wasn't just about being tired of royal life. It was about waking up. Marrying a biracial woman supposedly peeled the blinders off and made him realise how baked-in racism was inside the system he grew up in. Rerun Nigel's corner, it sounded more like rewriting history. Because for many, the fairy tale wedding, the world tours and the cheers from the crowds didn't exactly scream hostile environment. If anything, the nation rolled out the red carpet, literally.
Should I tell you why he walked away? Because it took marrying a biracial woman for him to realise how racist the institution he was in. He thought, no, you cannot deny.
This is so wrong.
Nigel, how can you deny the racism? How?
Do you know how? Very simple. I think they had an absolute fairy tale wedding. I think the country took to them. In the early months, as she toured in Brixton and wherever else it was,
she did a great job.
The tabloid media, everyone was behind them. They chose.
Until when?
They chose to go to the other side of the world.
No, but why? Because they were being bullied. They were constantly being harassed. Yes, you may say the country took to them, but actually the minute a biracial woman wasn't as subservient as in white spaces, as soon as Meghan wasn't the person you wanted her to be, and a strong black woman, that was it. People had enough.
Most people
and they went in for the daggers.
I don't think people didn't even regard her as black when she first came on the scene.
Well, a biracial woman, they didn't regard the woman of colour.
But by the way, whatever's been said...
But once again, Dendra wasn't giving an inch. Pushing back that the cheers faded fast once Meghan didn't play the quiet royal sidekick people expected her to be. The debate kept heating up. Dendra argued that the public turned nasty the moment Meghan showed she wasn't going to just smile and wave politely. According to her, being a strong biracial woman in royal circles was like waving a red flag at a bull, and the media charged in hard. Nigel, staying firm, insisted it wasn't about race. At least, not in the beginning. He pointed out that most people didn't even think much about Meghan's background at first. She was welcomed, celebrated even. Things only soured later, and in his view it had more to do with personality clashes and endless drama than anything else. Still, Dendra fired back with some of the ugliest headlines Meghan faced. Like that horrible chimpanzee comment after Archie was born, to remind everyone that racism did rear its head whether people wanted to admit it or not. The tension was clear, two completely different versions of what went wrong with neither side ready to blink.
Meghan, right?
Horrible things.
Right. Well,
Picture of a chimpanzee when Archie was born.
Yeah, you know, horrible things get said about all public figures, all right? However, the point here is this. I'm beginning to wonder whether media commentators, myself included, have spent too much time talking about Meghan and not enough time talking about Harry. It's Harry that has betrayed his own family. Now, his claim, his defence, at every twist and turn of this, his defence is that the palace have been continually leaking stories to the press.
But so are you saying he's lying?
There's no evidence of it.
Oh, there is evidence. It's on the documentaries. If you watch it, there is evidence.
There's no evidence.
They blank out the names. But so you're saying Harry, who's served this country for 10 years, 3 tours of Afghan, you're saying he's now suddenly a liar. How is he suddenly a liar? Why don't you like his narrative? Why don't the British public want to hear, actually, my wife suffered racism and bullying? Why don't you want to hear that?
When your grandfather is on his deathbed,
that's a weak story.
And you know he's got days to live, and you still go through with the Oprah Winfrey interview, when you make the last 2 years of your grandmother's life incredibly difficult because you're continually throwing your toys out of the pram.
What about Meghan and Harry's life? That was incredibly difficult. They were being thrown, as Meghan said, not thrown, fed. Stories were purposely being leaked. Purposely being leaked.
What was the motivation?
Shall I tell you, Prince William and Kate Middleton, jealousy. Meghan and Harry were so popular, and I think there was jealousy. And Prince Charles, King Charles the Cruel, why hasn't he spoken to his son? Why hasn't he protected his son?
Well, actually,
why didn't they come out?
At this point, Nigel pivoted the whole conversation in a pretty interesting direction. He suggested that maybe the media, and honestly the rest of us, had spent way too much time focusing on Meghan and not nearly enough time asking tough questions about Harry. It's because when you really think about it, Harry wasn't exactly dragged kicking and screaming across the Atlantic. He made his own choices. He's the one who keeps throwing his family under the bus with every new documentary, book deal, and tell-all interview. At some point, it stops being about standing up for your spouse and starts looking a lot like burning every bridge you were ever handed. And even when Dendra pointed out that Harry blamed the palace for leaking nasty stories, Nigel wasn't convinced that was a free pass for dragging your entire family's name through the mud in public, especially while cashing some pretty hefty checks. Dendra wasn't about to let Harry go down without a fight. She reminded everyone that this wasn't just some spoiled royal. Harry had served his country for a decade, including 3 tours in Afghanistan. That had to count for something, right? In her view, if Harry said he and Meghan faced racism and bullying, maybe, just maybe, people should listen, instead of labelling him a liar. She couldn't understand why so many were quick to dismiss his entire experience just because it made them uncomfortable.
That can't be taken away. That would take an act of Parliament. You can't do that.
Well, I tell you something, the British public, I mean, you know, Harry and Meghan's popularity in this country has gone from stratospherically high to, I mean, only Prince Andrew's below them. I mean, there are reasons, for that.
Yes.
But their popularity is very,
but
very
we're
low.
still all talking about them. I think
very, very low.
You could take their titles off them, they will still stay relevant. No matter what you do, they will stay relevant. I think people didn't
I'm not sure they will.
They are so relevant.
We're going to get bored with them.
And no, you will not get bored, and they would have been great for this country. I think they're sad.
So why did they walk away?
Because they weren't being protected. Pictures, King Charles' grandson, there was a picture of a chimpanzee, and he stayed silent. Silence is not golden. Sometimes this institution, the monarchy, needs to speak out against racism, and they didn't. This institution, racist institution,
this institution of the monarchy, has probably done more for black and Asian countries, I would say, in the last 3/4 of a century,
they colonised
than any other organisation, institution, or group of people in the history of the world.
Okay.
But Nigel saw it differently. To him, Harry's military service didn't give him a lifetime immunity card, especially not when, in Nigel's eyes, Harry chose to cause massive emotional damage to his own family, even while Prince Philip was on his deathbed and the Queen was nearing the end of her reign. For Nigel, loyalty wasn't just about wearing a uniform, it was about knowing when to stop firing shots, literal or otherwise, at the people who raised you. Then, Dendra dropped what she clearly thought was her trump card, jealousy. In her version of events, Harry and Meghan weren't pushed out because they were difficult. They were pushed out because they were too popular. Adding to her, Prince William and Kate just couldn't handle sharing the spotlight. And as for King Charles, or as Dendra cheekily called him, King Charles the Cruel, she wondered why he hadn't done more to protect his son, instead of letting the media chew him up. Nigel wasn't exactly impressed. Instead of buying into the grand jealousy theory, he raised an even sharper question. If Harry felt so betrayed and unsafe, why cling to the royal titles at all? Surely walking away should have meant really walking away, not cashing in on the name you claim to hate. Cue Dendra pointing out that stripping titles isn't that simple. Apparently you'd need a full Act of Parliament, and let's be honest, nobody's getting that done between tea breaks at this point. The conversation took a nosedive into cold, hard reality. Nigel pointed out something that even die-hard fans can't ignore. Harry and Meghan's popularity in Britain has absolutely cratered.
In the history of the world,
educate me then.
The Queen took up the Commonwealth, which was a baby organisation,
and used
and
it,
tried to turn it into a force for good all over the world. And you know what? She did a hell of a good job.
But look what she did in India. Look what they did in India. They pillaged. They stole.
I said to you that over the last 75 years, the British monarchy has done more for black and Asian people than any other group of people in history.
They haven't. That is not true.
Well, Narinder Kaur, you and I will disagree on that, but we will disagree on that. But I'm pleased that you come and made the argument for Harry and Meghan. I don't agree with you, but
we're talking bottom of the bar levels. Only Prince Andrew managed to poll worse, and that's saying a lot. Dendra, ever the loyal defender, brushed it off. In her mind, Harry and Meghan would stay relevant no matter what polls said. Titles or no titles, scandals or no scandals. They'd somehow always find a way to stay in the spotlight. Nigel wasn't so sure. He threw a little shade, hinting that people might eventually get tired of the endless drama and move on to new headlines. But Dendra doubled down. They could have been a real asset to the country if only the system had treated them better. Instead, she argued, they were left out in the cold, and the country lost out because of it. Then things got even heavier. Dendra brought up one of the ugliest moments. A racist image circulated when Archie was born and slammed the royal family for staying silent. In her eyes, silence wasn't neutral, it was complicity. She argued that the monarchy had a duty to speak out against racism, and by staying quiet, they failed not just Harry and Meghan, but an entire generation watching from the sidelines. Nigel countered with a broader perspective. He argued that over the last 75 years, the monarchy had actually done a lot of good for black and Asian communities around the world, especially through efforts like the Commonwealth. To him, the Queen had worked hard to build bridges, even if the history books weren't exactly spotless. Of course, Dendra wasn't buying the fairy tale version. She fired back with references to colonialism. the British pillaging of India, and the lingering wounds that no amount of Commonwealth handshakes could really erase. By now it was clear they weren't just arguing about Harry and Meghan anymore. They were wrestling with the much bigger, messier question of what the monarchy even stands for in today's world. As the debate wound down, something surprising happened. Both sides somehow managed to stay civil. Sure, Nigel and Dendra weren't exactly about to hug it out, but they agreed on one rare thing: British media needed more balance. Too often, it felt like everyone was yelling from their own corner, with no real attempt to understand the other side. Dendra even admitted she liked Nigel, which honestly felt like spotting a unicorn, and floated the idea of forgiveness. Maybe, just maybe, Harry and Meghan could find a way back into the royal fold one day. Nigel didn't shoot it down completely, but he was blunt. Peace only comes when both sides stop lobbing grenades at each other. And right now, Harry and Meghan were still firing away like it was open season. So, for now, reconciliation is still stuck in traffic, somewhere behind all the documentaries, interviews and bestseller lists, and that's where things ended. No miracles, no shouting matches, just two very different views, tossed into the public arena for everyone else to chew on. If you've got your own take, don't forget to drop it in the comments, and hey, maybe you'll be the one to solve this royal mess.